Hello and welcome. My name is Mary Lou and you're listening to the Hear a Hotspot podcast, which is all about wellbeing for women both at home and at work. We'll be talking to female entrepreneurs about their business journey and what inspires them, whilst also what living and working holistically looks like to them. To hear and be able to relate to other people's journeys can be a powerful reminder to us all of our own inner strength, resilience and abilities, whilst also inspiring us to better ourselves. In this series, we'll also be meeting some holistic practitioners and exploring their wonderful practices and how they can help us in our everyday lives. In this week's episode, I'm delighted to introduce someone who is a privilege to call a friend, Vic Rendle, who is a mother, physiotherapist and business owner of the Health Hub in Kingsbridge. I've known Vic for many years, and it was a delight to spend some time with her and listen to her insights on growing and running your own business. After 8 years of working within the health system, Vic started her own business, Quay Physio, in 2009, and this grew in the end of 2016 into a wonderful creative physical arena for exploring ailments and supporting people on their journey to wellness that is the Health Hub. I will just say for those listening back to this, that for context of the latter part of the interview, it was recorded just as social distancing regime was implemented for the coronavirus outbreak. Vic's energy is vibrant, candid and delightfully funny. It was a total pleasure to dip into her thoughts on running her business and how she has developed as an individual during the process. I could have talked and laughed with her for hours, but next time I'll do it before 9 p.m. So, thank you for being with me, Vic, today. I've already introduced you at the beginning, but can I ask that if you sat next to someone at dinner, what would you tell them that you do?
I would say that I'm a physio and I work at this place in Kingsbridge. And they're like, oh, great. And I still, 10 years in, struggle to say that it's my business.
Why?
I think that I feel like a fraud half the time. And I feel like it's a bit of this imposter syndrome. And I think actually think that's a really good thing. I know that it's taken me a long while to accept that I have a business and to feel confident to stand as the face of it. I would rather hide behind it often.
So did there come a point in the last 10 years when you went, okay, I'm up for this now?
It was probably about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. And I was like, crikey, okay, I'm 8 years in now. And still having a load of problems that I was having at day one. Getting a bit bored of it now. And, why me? Why is all this happening? Continual challenges, which is business, I realise now. But I was not facing them in the right way. And I think that I was focusing on the wrong things. And all of a sudden, I just woke up and I was like, well, this is my thing to sort out. There's no one else who's going to do it. I can't bear to be having these worries and whining. And I can't bear my friends to hear me sort of talk about work anymore in this way. And I suddenly was like, okay, well, I'm the only one who's going to change this. So I've got to. So just ploughed into a lot of learning about business instead of, I'd focused so much on the skills I needed as for my day-to-day job as a therapist. So I'd focused loads on being clinically good and skilling myself up there. And at no point had I ever really focused fully on what it takes and the needs of a business and how to best do that. And
so it was all about you're working in your business, not on your business.
Very much. And
which is so easy to do because working in your business is you're sort of taught or you think that's what makes the money.
Yeah.
I charge per hour, I have so many clients. Yeah. But actually you feel that if I take that time off or I go for that walk or I do that, I'm a service industry. I can't charge per hour and it's only you see the value of that working on it retrospectively, but it feels quite counterintuitive to do at the time, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. And it's so easy to go back and it is that, feel the fear and do it anyway, There's many people that talk about the things that scare you most are exactly the things that you need to be doing. The things you don't want to do, the things you put off doing are the exact things that you should be doing. And, you know, somebody said to me once that you would never expect somebody who's done an MBA to suddenly open a physio clinic and decide to be a physio. And yet so many of us in many professions, not just mine, would think, okay, well, I've got these skills, right, let's go, let's open a business, and haven't thought about how to make that business a success in whatever terms that means. And I don't necessarily mean that in a financial sense. I mean, you know, there's so many people who are hugely successful, I feel, because they're managing to live their best life and juggle. I trying desperately not to use that, but you know, have boundaries actually in how they're working, and they do that really successfully. And to me, I'm kind of a bit in awe of them. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that has turned me around, is to start feeling competent and have more confidence in actually being a leader, a business owner, and feeling successul in that role.
Is that because that space was always vacant and you kept kind of looking at it going, I'm not ready to step up? And because it kept remaining vacant, eventually there was almost a spotlight on it going, actually, I really have to occupy that space now. It's becoming like the elephant in the room. No one else is getting up there. Like, it's a bit like when you move out of home and your socks are on the stairs and you realise, actually, Mummy's not going to pick them up anymore. Shit, I've got to do it. I've got to do the washing up.
And it's like, I want to have slopey shoulders. Who can I delegate this to? Oh, no one. I have to learn to do this.
So when you did learn and you did step up, where did that learning come from? For the business bit, did you have it in you all the time and went, okay, I'm actually going to do what I secretly know to do? Or was it, I need to be mentored, or I need to read, or I need to study? Or
I think it was recognising where the current biggest challenges in my business were. And I love a book, as you can see right now. I've got piles of them. None of them are nice, like, reading books. They're all, like, heavy books.
Accountancy for dummies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I do read them, like, not all the time straight the way through, but, you know, pick and choose and all that. And I think that a lot of books came to me at the right time, you know, and you know me, I'm a very big believer in things coming when they're meant to, and that side of things. And one of the books that I read around this time was The One Thing, which is just up there, and I have no idea who the author is, so I can give these to you later if that's helpful, a list of references for books that are useful. But it talks about, you know, what one thing that if you did it right now would make all the other things not necessary to do. So it was just making you
gosh, that's a big concept to really drill down and get that one thing.
Yeah, so it's almost like, you know, going up and looking down. And, you know, I find it hard to remain grounded anyway, as you know, and it's a real challenge for me to not get swept up in my thoughts and my ideas and excitement about that and lose myself in the actual practicalities of it. And that was huge for me, is to go, okay, right, this is the biggest problem right now. And if the one thing I could do that would make all of these other things a bunch better, and I did it, and it was, started looking at things like that, and then various different books came into my life, and various different podcasts, and I'd been following a physio who has done very big things in his business, and now has developed his own teaching business surrounding our physio and how to support that. And, you know, from a marketing point of view, from a, you know, just a structural point of view, a leadership point of view, a sales point of view, all sorts of different things. And whilst, you know, I kind of was one of those little in the background checking things out, and the more and more I just kind of got to a point of desperation, actually, to be fair. And it was like, I literally can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm done with feeling like this. I'm done with still earning what I earned when I left London nearly like 15 years ago as a junior therapist. You know, this isn't what my vision. I'm working every hour, I'm working every evening. This is not my vision of success.
There has to be a better way.
There has to be a better way. Not spending enough time with my daughter, you know, like all of those things. And you're like, yeah, and I'm trying. I think somebody says like you're a busy fool, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you're just running around.
But I'm being so productive, but I'm doing all these things. How can it not work?
And I'm fanning around at the best of times. So actually having like a really focus is really important. And so just to go, okay, this is the one thing I'm going to focus on. And I did it. And
was that the time when I saw you and you said that you were about to take or had taken 2 months off, and you said, I just have to step back, and it enabled you to kind of overview, and then you were writing your blogs, and you found it really, remember you saying you found it really cathartic. Yeah. Was that the time you were doing that, or was it prior to that?
No, it was after that. So that was about 4 years ago. And this came more recently because again I thought this is the answer. This is the answer for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and you know, ideas, and then not the seeing it through to the end point. And actually that wasn't the right thing to do because I didn't have the infrastructure around me to support what my ideas were at that point. So it basically, you know, and I'm sure so many people feel as I have felt, that they literally get to that point where enough is enough. And, you know, I was reading an article at this point in time, you know, nearly 2 years ago now, or 18 months ago. And there was, it was an article from about the Bee Gees, of all things. And they were saying, and it was like, you know, never, you know, just about when you're going to quit, that's when you're just about to be, it's all going to come together. And I've got to the point where I feel like I'm just about to quit so many times, but I really, really got to the point where I was going to quit. And then I was like, okay, this is the last thing I'm going to try. And I was comfortable with my choice of the one thing that I was going to do. And I had nothing at that point. I just felt I've got nothing to lose because I'm done. And if this works, which it should work, because if I trust this guy I've been learning from, it will work.
Was that just an implementation of a system, or was that a financial input, or was that a huge restructure? Did it feel massive at the time? It's like,
God, yeah.
Right.
Oh gosh, yeah, it felt huge. And it was to do with pricing, which I think a lot of us who work in healthcare struggle with. And I think a lot of us who work in any way to do with other people when we're an hourly rate. And I think, you know, there's massive...
To devalue yourself before they even consider, your client even considers it.
And I think that there's many reasons, and I'm not about to try to say this to anyone, because I can remember being, you know, when I first started, or a long time ago, when I heard about what people were charging, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's so wrong. And actually that was my ego talking, and that was my insecurities, that was all of that. And that was my absolutely terrible understanding about what it takes to actually run a business, and run a business which has the backup and structure as mine does. You know, like I have a clinic. So your time when you see people isn't just about when they're in the treatment room. It's about all the other ways in which you're supporting them as well. And, you know, the time that you are able to have someone spend with them on the telephone before they arrive. It's all about, you know, the support and the things that you can offer them before they even come in. You know, it's the information you're providing, it's the experience they get when they're in there, the fact that they don't
your learning
feel
and
rushed, you know, and that's before you start looking at actually the time that the clinician is spending with them. So, but, you know, massive things. And I think when we're in the caring profession, you want to help people. That's your thing.
But it's that catch-22, because most people, when I found that in my past businesses and with my husband's business, when he's a service industry, and people go, how much do you charge an hour? And so you're restricted by other people's perception of, whether you're a tradesman at £25 an hour, or you're a clinician at either £40 or £60 an hour, their limitation, that's what you work to. But actually, and the problem is, they actually have to either get on the table or experience the quality of the tradesman and his tools, whether that be, a physical therapy, to go, oh, actually, I feel so much better. And by you facilitating my wellness, I can now go to work, or I actually know I have better mental health because the pain was so bad for me, or actually I'm able to have a life. And that to me is priceless.
Yeah.
And that can happen. You could go to someone who's less qualified, who has less facilities, but who's charging £20 less, but either that treatment won't work or it'll be slower to implement. But it's that catch-22 of they've actually got to experience you in a way, don't they?
Yeah.
But for me, your reputation precedes you. So you almost, I would have thought, have gone beyond that.
I think the challenge is especially in a business where you've got other people, and if you are trying to not be in the business all the time, is to make sure that you create something whereby all of the people, all the clinicians you're with, or all the people who are working under you are valued equal to you. And it was very important to me to not have a hierarchical price scheme, just because I'm the business owner, my skills in this area are no better or worse than anybody's else. It's just that maybe my skills are in a certain field, whereas my other clinicians are by far more skilled than me in many areas, including the ones I'm in, but there's so many variables. But I think that one of the biggest things for us has been about showing people the value of what you do. And I think for people who are charging, who are an hourly rate, or run by appointments. So and maybe actually this applies to people when they're selling products as well, is that the key is to be able to show the value of what you do to people.
Yeah.
And for me, the value of what we do isn't what we do, it's what we enable them to achieve.
Yeah.
So it's not, okay, my skills are in this type of physio, or I do this treatment or that treatment, and I treat this, and this. Actually, our skills are getting people independent again.
Yeah.
It's
external rather than internal.
Yeah. Well, and it's emotional, and when people are going to make decisions about purchasing anything, and by the way, this is not my stuff, this is what I have learned from other people who are way more qualified than me. This is not me. But people make decisions on purchasing from the emotional part of their brain.
Yeah.
So if you don't connect with them on an emotional level, then it becomes quite hard, and a lot of us are not comfortable discussing finance in any way with people, and you're like, oh, I'm a bit embarrassed, let's gloss over that, or not really say it, and leave it as a surprise.
I've always found that from my perspective in retail, I've always tried to create an emotional experience for someone. I've always been quite fascinated by the psychology of shopping, how M&S will have the carpeted floor or the tiled floor, and how they manipulate you to move around. But for me, it was about, you can get a beautiful handmade mug and put it on a boring table, and it will probably look beautiful because it's handmade, or you can create a setting for it. And we forget how visual we are, and how actually you've had an emotional experience without realising it, whether by the colours of your logo, your building, or the setup for your reception, or the way I laid out my shops. And for me, it was always about respecting that the client's coming in, that they've taken the time to come in, that they're giving you their money, and all of that is really personal. And I've always tried to honour that by going, actually, I'm going to tell you the story about who the person who makes this necklace, or this mug, or this basket. And it was never buy it. It's like, actually, this is really interesting. It's made by this lady, and this is how she does it. And then I would leave it. So, but they felt that you had, included them.
I totally agree. And people want to feel heard. And they want people don't give people time, or so busy.
No.
And
I find it really disrespectful, I think. And I think that if you're not prepared to honour that, and to give your client or your customer everything, then I think it's a bit harsh to say you just don't deserve to be in business, but you don't necessarily deserve to succeed because you're failing to give your all. You can't just have a product on a wall. And I remember there was one shop in Kingsbridge years ago when we first moved in, and she was so grumpy, and the whole atmosphere in the shop was horrible. And surprise, she didn't succeed. And it's like, gosh, if you only had been more engaging and actually, because it was a shop where people used the product to do stuff and it really enhanced their lives. And it's like, gosh, you could really buy into people's lives here. You've absolutely missed a trick. Why are you in retail? If you feel that uncomfortable being in front of people, go and get a desk job, which is fine. If that's your thing, there's no judgment, but you are in front of people. Especially what we do when we're health workers, you absolutely... And I think you have to be vulnerable to a large degree and be honest and open and own your space, going, well, this is who I am. Yeah. Come and share my space with me. Come and share my knowledge.
But how many people are comfortable to do that for whatever reason? And I think, my journey, I'm really comfortable in my little treatment room. But as soon as, that's why, I work in that building. And then, just putting your head up there means that you're open to criticism, or open to feedback, good and bad, actually, which is lovely, but and useful, actually. It doesn't need to be a thing to fear.
No, if it comes with heart and it's constructive and people want you to succeed, and that more often not, that is then the ego that gets in the way if you don't accept it. Because like, oh, mate, I'm being judged. And if they're being horrible and, fair enough, but it is. And I think for me, that comes with age. I've only just kind of got there where I'm comfortable to go, I'm fine. I'm comfortable enough with who I am and what I offer and what I believe that I don't feel judged or I don't feel criticised. Because it's, as you were saying earlier, before we started, that's just your opinion. That's yours. That's not mine. I don't have to take that on board in any way, do I?
Yeah. And you can choose to listen to all these things, can't you? And it's, again, somebody said to me very, very early on in my business, who was supporting me in the business sense at the time and helping from that point of view, coaching me. They said, it's important to be the consummate cherry picker. And I will never forget that advice, because that was really true. Because I've always been very much one to go, oh my goodness, this person knows it. Oh yeah, they're great. I'm going to do all of the things they say because that's great. And that, I suppose, comes back down to confidence maybe a bit. And now, and perhaps it's just the fact that, 10 plus years down the line, I feel maybe that some of the experiences that I've had and have helped me think differently, but also perhaps that I'm maybe more comfortable in having a voice and an opinion and being able to much clearer express that.
But after your year's experience, you're the expert now.
I know.
And it's and you forget that we have knowledge. Yeah. And I was saying to a client the other day, there was a time in my 40s, I'm now 50, where enough had happened, enough big stuff had happened that it felt that it defined me, but in a negative way. It was like, oh, I've got that and that and that. And then I was in an environment where I was listening to young women tell stories that I could relate to. Oh, yes, I've been there. So I turned in one weekend from being someone who wore it quite heavily to actually going, actually, I have a wisdom now, and I'm going to use that experience to help people rather than let it weigh me down. Because it's so easy, isn't it, to life is so many ups and downs. But when you get to the point, you go, actually, these are treasures. These are gifts of knowledge, gifts of experience that I can help other people learn by, and I've learned by. And of all the things, you feel actually I wouldn't change most of them, because I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have the resilience, the strength. I wouldn't have had the courage to do that without life kicking in the butt every now and then.
I 100% agree. And as tough as those times are in any area of your life, coming through them is powerful. And I agree. You know a lot of my personal stuff, and that I would safely say that it's probably only been in the last 6 months that I have started to feel like I've come out of a hard place that I've been in for many years. But it's just so interesting how so many things are all tied in, aren't they? And
Well, with hindsight, you can put more in it, kind of the little bits of gold that when you melt them all down, they make your crown in a way. But at the time,
I like that.
That's good, isn't it? I'll just come up with that.
Like my cherry picker. Oh, I love it.
But at the time, they feel like gravel under your feet because it's stopping you.
Yeah.
But it's, again, it's hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to rewind because we dove straight into where you are now. So you started in 2011 with Quay Physio?
No, it was earlier than that.
Right.
So I opened that back in 2009.
Right.
And prior to that, had been working as a locum in the military in Plymouth. And during that time, I'd been doing some evenings and working in the evenings and then,
with your own clients.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where I was like, I just don't want to be traveling to Plymouth every day. And I knew that there was a need for some form of clinic locally. And I always loved the idea of having lots of support for somebody under one roof. And I think, my belief is that there's loads of ways to get from A to B. And according, everyone is so unique, not just because of their injury or illness that they've got, but because of their beliefs and the barriers that they've got and all sorts of things that go into making them up as a human, what they have to do for a living, the postures they stay, like all sorts of different things. And I like the idea of having a very whole person approach to looking after them, because certain things will be right for them at a certain point in their time according to where they are. And also there's safety in that, isn't there? Because it's not all on you. And to be able to build a team around you of very like-minded people that like that team structure was always what I wanted to create. And
so was that was the health hub, because that was Quay Physio, and then you did Health Hub in September 2016.
Yeah. So
had that been always in your head to expand into that, or did it morph into that over the 7 years?
I don't really think there was a plan.
Without a plan, you've done very well.
I had a plan that was to open a clinic that had lots of great people working in it, and that, you had all sorts of wonderful disciplines under one roof. And wouldn't it be great to be able to look after people's fitness? And, that was my business plan on a napkin. It'd be nice to be doing this, and this is what I really feel like people benefit from, and all the experiences in my own body and health that I'd have. I know that but did it?
So if it was your plan, was it? It would be nice, but actually I can't do that, or was it actually one day I'm going to do this?
No. It was like, let's start it. And actually, I think if I had ever thought about what it would be like, I don't think people would ever do it. If you fully understand.
I'm sure it's so true for so many people.
Yeah. And my family are immense. I love them to bits. And, they ran a business for many, many years, and ever so supportive. And not once did they say, are you sure you want to go down that route? They were just amazing, just so supportive. And what a gift that is to me, to have that confidence from them in that. But, I never knew the challenges I would face, even though they knew they were going to come. But I would never
You said you'd never jump if you knew.
No.
And once your feet are in it, you think, actually, I just have to find a way
you're
through.
You're going to do it. And actually, if I believe enough in this thing, this lifestyle, this approach, like if you believe enough in it, then you should be able to find a way. Like it's like childcare. Gosh, I've got my own business. If I can't make it work around my own business, that's sad, because I should be able to. That's probably one of the benefits. And
I think, from my experience in the past, I've always loved what I've done.
Yeah.
But it's when the hard times have come, it's like, how much how much of you do you put into it? How much risk do you take?
Yeah.
How much is this worth it? And
Yeah.
I've always thought it was. I've always tried to put my all into it.
Yeah.
But now I'm doing what I love and where my heart and my soul are. You can see that actually there's no question of not climbing the mountain or, trying to find a way around, because the goal or the soul part of you is so big and so important. The rest just seems small and you have to do it, really.
I do often ask myself what motivates me. And when people ask you, and I hope that's not one of your questions. Thank God, I'll probably give you my answer now anyway. So, but people are going, "Oh, what motivates you to do this?" And I'm like, I don't know. I just need to.
Yeah.
And I do love it.
Does it feel like work?
It has done on occasions, but sometimes I don't know. It feels, I suppose, maybe it's the vocational side of things and that belief, but then also it's habit now. I've kind of trained myself to do this, to be this way about this thing, because it is supporting lots of people now who I truly believe in, who are in my business, but also it's supporting me and it's supporting a lot of other people. And I really feel passionate about other people understanding that there are ways of getting over these things that maybe haven't encountered before. And it's not complicated, it's just specific. And again, that's not my line. That was one that I got from a friend.
You'll have to start making them yours. You have to adopt them at some stage.
I don't even think I've got my own. I'm just borrowing everyone else's. But at least I'm being honest about that.
Does it feel at any time when it's really problematic, you go, I just wish I could just go to work and get a wage and work for someone else and not have this?
I think that there's been many times, and I'm sure we've all experienced them, where there's so much going on away from work in your personal life or what have you, and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to go into work today? Or there's something big in the business and you're like, how am I gonna go in there with a smiley face and be positive and motivating, and how am I gonna do that? And I think I feel blessed with my job, and I know that many of my buddies feel the same, is that the moment you go into that treatment room, it's so about the other person, and that actually what's going on for you, there's no, that's blocked out. It's not even there, because your entire focus in that time you're with them is about them. And it's wonderful, and it's exceedingly distracting from many things, and it's got me through so much, actually. And you could go into that first session and be like, I don't know how I'm going to get through my day, or you're feeling a bit under the weather, or you've just got so much on and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done today. But then the moment you're in that room, it's like, oh, I love this.
But is it added when you have issues, as soon as you help someone else, it makes everything go away? And I mean, I find when I'm in a treatment room, I did come up with a perfect phrase, and see if I can remember it the other day, is I hold space and I'm totally present for my client.
Yes.
And I totally I'm there and listen to their story, but I don't necessarily absorb it. And that's the thing as a health worker, is you can't take away their stories. Plus I have a terrible memory, so luckily I do forget a lot of the stories, which is not disrespecting the stories I have. Because I feel hugely honoured when people do open up. I feel it's, sometimes I had an amazing client the other day and I almost wanted to pay her, because it was such an honour to treat her. And she taught me so much within the discipline and how she reacted to it. But it's a bit like fishing in a way. When I fish, you just forget everything else because you have to focus on that. But when you're holding space for someone and you're helping them, it's beautiful and distracting.
It's a joy. It's a joy to be... It's a joy that people trust you enough to allow you into that space and that vulnerability that they have. It's a privilege and an honour.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. And, I learn so much from my clients, and it's wonderful how, again, that holding that space, that being present, that being grounded, and And it's amazing the clarity in thinking that you can get in there.
Yeah.
Like I could often be thinking, what is going on here? And trying to figure it out in your head, or you're trying to have a conversation and, you know, and then you know, you can make connections with how you're thinking that I would never have been, I couldn't do unless I was in that present situation with them. So
but it's also, I find, it's being present, but I find if I think too much, because I'm very analytical, and I'll start going, why? As soon as I let go and I almost sort of say, you know, the universe kind of either help me out or wait for all the pieces to fall, and then you just see it fall going, oh, okay, that makes sense now. But it's for me, it's the not overthinking, because it kind of involves too much of me, too much of maybe not ego, but the controlling of wanting to know it, and it's trusting you have the knowledge that all the pieces fall together.
And that is a key thing, I believe, regarding the business side of things, is that trusting in that process, obviously making sure that, you know, the better things you ask, the better questions you ask about your business, the better answers you'll get. Again, not mine. I'm such a fraud.
But you've still got to find the question.
Yeah.
They don't tell you what the question is, don't you?
No, but it's making you look at the right things to ask instead of, so, you know, like with me, you know, oh, you've got knee pain. Okay, you've got something wrong with your knee. Let's treat it. And then maybe I might look at the joint above or below. But a better question is like, oh, okay, you've got pain in your knee and it's coming from this structure. And now should we ask why? Why is your knee moving in that way that makes that structure load in that way to make it hurt? You know, like
the cause, not the symptom.
Yeah.
Which to me is the crux of all health.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the problem might be one thing, but it's caused by your thinking or your decisions that are being made in another way.
That's really interesting. I've always applied it in a health perspective, and I've never thought to apply it in a business perspective.
And it's like, you know, our like life axis that we were talking about, that applies to business, that applies to rehab. And I was like, oh, and so now, you know, often I'll be talking to a client and say, you know, people talk about life and it being, you know, you start here and you go here. And actually the reality is that big ball of string. And I'm like, that's what this journey's about. Ta-da! You know, obviously I might articulate it in a better way. But that it does. And I think it's really funny how that my earliest thoughts as a business person was like, I'm a rubbish business owner, I'm a rubbish leader, I'm a rubbish boss, I'm a rubbish this. And you know, that self-talk's never very good, is it? But I felt like I needed to put a different hat on to be the different role that I was in, if you know what I mean. So I'd have that hat on in that treatment room. And then when I came out, I'd have this different hat and this different hat. And I was like, I don't have the skills to be a leader. So I've got to pretend I have them or learn these skills that I think that I need. And again, somebody said to me at the time, well, you could just be you in all of those situations. And I was like, no. Oh no. Oh, I can't be me. No, that won't work. I fanny around too much. Oh no. Don't let me be me. And actually it's right, but
it's exhausting to be otherwise, really.
Well, yeah,
isn't it?
And I think that's it. But
you've got to remember who you are and each, you know, find your hats each time.
And it was exhausting, and I think that a lot of people, I didn't really know what I was doing, and so instead of being
but do you think
any
of us do? Because you can take a business degree, or you know, the theory can happen, but life doesn't. You know,
life's a ball of string.
It is. It's not pieces on a board. It's like snakes and ladders, maybe, but it's not. There's a start and a finish, and you just move your counter. You throw a 6, and you're done.
Exactly.
It just doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, I've always found the problem for me, and that's kind of why I want to do what I'm doing now, is to do it on your own and be objective is really hard. I've always wanted another person to talk to in order to, for me, it's so close to my face, to get it on the table, to get a distant viewpoint where maybe maybe it's not ego, or you're just emotionally invested. If it's your money or it's your time or it's your family and it's your passion, it's really hard to, you were saying, answer that, find that one question, or look at it like that. Have you found the same?
Yeah, all the time, all the time.
So how have you got the objectivity?
Time, as boring as that sounds, perhaps having a lot more confidence in my ability, and having more confidence in me as a person, and knowing that I can have an opinion and it matters. And even so, one of the things, and it happened quite recently, and one of my team members laughed at me and they were like, oh, it is your business, Vic. You should be able to say how you want it to be. And I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Right. All right. And it is so ridiculous.
You keep turning around and looking for who's in charge.
Yeah, I do. I still do it all the time. But then, it's really interesting. It's so interesting. And, why we like that. But I'm sure for me, a lot of it comes down to confidence and that feeling of, I can do it. I'm worthy of it. Worthy. Good old Brené Brown. We love her.
We do love Brené.
I've got to love her lines too. I might pull them out in a minute.
At least I remember them. I forget them all. I love them at the time and I write them down, and then I just, there's this line and I get it all muddled up.
Yeah,
anyway.
no. Something in there.
You're pretty good at remembering them. You're tattooed all up your arm.
I have to say them a lot. Remember them
your
every
mantras.
day. My mantras every day. Yeah. But no, I've got a lot of good, wonderful female buddies around me who I love, value, respect enormously. And I think when I started my business, a bit like you said, I don't think I really knew anybody else who did. And I don't really know why. I just was like, oh, it seems like a good idea.
How many of us have done that?
I know. Yeah. Well, let's do it. I reckon I could pay my rent if I do this many classes. What other expenses are there? Oh, rates. Okay, what are those? Oh, they're quite a lot here, aren't they? Oh,
that's a lot of classes.
Might need to do another few classes. Anyway, it's terrible.
So were your friends, were they in business or were they just friends and just supporting you as a person?
And they were just my cheerleaders, I think. And I looked, and I have had some mentors who have been enormously helpful at those periods in that journey, which I've been very grateful for. And I didn't really have it. And again, another lovely one. Somebody said, there's this great podcast, and I think it's a TED Talk.
Right.
But I will find it and I'll give it to you.
Okay.
And apparently you need 5 people in your life, don't you? You need the mentor. You need I'm not going to remember them all now. It's going to be
you started now.
Oh, they're written on my desk. You need, everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a cheerleader. Everybody needs a friend. And the last one, it's probably the most important one.
Accountant?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. Oh, that's really disappointing. I will let you know.
Come to you.
But it was really interesting about those 5 people and saying, you're the product of the 5 people you spend most time with.
But I heard a version of that the other day on a podcast, and you are the mean wage of the 5 people you hang out with.
The mean wage? Wow.
Because it's, again, which I found really interesting because I'm not sure I have many wealthy friends. So it's slightly disappointing. But it was, you mix with people, and if they don't, I think it was more about having a successful mindset, and that wasn't necessarily sort of greed and wanting to do it, but it's maybe being brave. And if you're around people who are taking those risks and it's working for them, that kind of rubs off on you. So you could have all those people, but if they're all just learning sort of minimum wage, sometimes you can feel quite guilty about about being successful. Yes. You have to be amongst people where you feel either equal or we're all raising each other up to the same level.
You're right. So Brené Brown, I love her. She talks about there's a book, she's written loads of cool books, and I would 100% recommend everyone to read
You got them all?
Yeah, I've got them in books. I've got them in like audios. Like I need to absorb all this and keep hearing it. And she talks. One of her favourite quotes is, you know, like I can't remember it exactly, but it's basically like, listen to the people that are in the arena that you're in.
Yeah.
And, you know,
yes, I remember
because
that one.
that's how, yeah. And I think it was a Roosevelt one, wasn't it? But I think in my earliest days...
Yes, don't take criticism from people who aren't prepared to get into your arena.
Yes.
Yeah.
Far more eloquent than me.
And I haven't got her books.
I know. You don't need them. No, they're brilliant. And I think if I look back, a lot is that the insecurities that I had is because I was listening to people who weren't in the arena I was in.
Yeah.
And that because of my lack of confidence, I would make decisions based on their opinions when they actually didn't really understand the full complexity of the situations that I was in.
I think that's really common.
Yeah. And you asked me what has changed in the last 18 months. And it's that the only people's opinions that I listen to now are those that are in the arena I'm in.
Because there's an assumption that because they have an opinion, they know better than you.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And it's also, well, it's so much easier because they have an opinion. And if I don't listen to that, shit, I've got to work out what I think about this.
Yeah.
And that is really hard to work out. Sometimes if I'm being treated and I'm asked how I feel, I go, I don't know. Can you tell me? Because I just find it so hard to actually figure out what it is I want. Or so often I'm just tell me. Just tell me. Not because I'm lazy, but it's, I don't know, maybe it's a society. Maybe we're just not used to sitting enough and actually really figuring it out.
And it's a brave thing to do because you have to be okay with whatever the answer is, don't you?
And maybe that's it. Maybe it's the fear of actually what I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
So I'll take their opinion because they're really confident with that. Yeah. And it's, as you say, it might have no relation to what you're doing at all, or actually be quite detrimental to your business.
And it's that silence again, isn't it? It's probably why we're chatting quite well. Silence. You then like, oh, I've got to fill it with something. Yeah. No, don't. Just let people think and let people be. Yeah.
So in all of that, what was your biggest hurdle, do you think?
Me?
Really?
Oh, easily. Yes.
It's kind of get out of your own way.
Yes, I think. Shall
I tell you what the answer is?
Yeah, please. I don't know. Where is it?
Get a Brenny I'll tell you.
It might be something else. I don't know. No, but it's understanding maybe yourself and why you have opinions and beliefs that you do about business, and that sometimes when you get out of your own way and you trust and listen to people that are in the arena, have been in the arena, know the arena, and it's uncomfortable, the advice that they give you, and perhaps a mentor is to kick you up your ass, and it's maybe not a comfortable place to be.
Sometimes really uncomfortable when they highlight things, and you sit and you squirm and you think, oh shit, I'm going to have to deal with this.
I know. I'm going to have to think about it. Don't make me think about it. I try really hard not to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. That's So all in all, it's being okay, being me in this scenario, and the perfectionism thing was a big one. And I think I think I've said it again. I know that becoming a mum got me over perfectionism pretty quick.
The longer it's your house tidy.
Done is better than perfect. Again, not mine. I should get loads of t-shirts printed with these on, shouldn't I? That would be huge, Mary Lou. There you go. This should be on your
inspirational t-shirts. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah. You have to think of a name for
Copyright. I wonder where we stand on that. They're not mine.
Vic says. Pay Brenny Brown £1 a t-shirt.
You should. Oh, God.
So in all of that, when getting out your own way and trusting, for me, that's a huge word, trust and faith. Yeah. Do you buy into the law of attraction that if you start going, well, this is going to work, this is going to be successful, and you have that mindset, you draw the energy of that success to you? Whereas previously, if you're having the mindset about, oh, it's so hard, and oh, it's not working, and it's just not gelling, and you get stuck in that energy because you're in your own way. But as soon as you open it to the universe and go, because I'm good at this, I value what I do, I value my clients, I value my team, it's all flowing. And then that just snowballs.
Yes, we're in that right now. I have 100% belief in everything we are doing right now. Hugely difficult time for everybody. And yet I feel so inspired, and I believe so 100% in what we are doing and creating right now, that I feel prickly with it, you know. Like,
and that must come off you for your team as well. They must pick that up on you. Well, they must do.
They have sent me some lovely little messages this evening. But, you know, and it's like this week has felt quite a pivotal, I think, for me, and in a leadership role. Oh, I still don't like saying that word. Oh, I feel so uncomfortable. But yes, it's, you know, like, actually I can do this, and I'm confident enough in my decision making. It's that confidence and belief. And I know that if I got it wrong, then I don't mind. I'm happy, you know, like learning from those, you know, there aren't mistakes, are there? You don't get things wrong. You just make decisions and you grow from them.
And, well, Edison and his 10,000 attempts to create the light bulb. It's not, they're not failures. They're just 10,000 ways to be successful.
Yes. Did I answer your question?
I can't remember what it was now. One of my questions was, who has been your biggest influences? But I keep hearing Brené Brown, so I don't know if it's her.
So she's one of them. Marie Forleo. Oh, I love her.
I've never, yes, I have seen her on a podcast. Very high energy.
I love her. I want to be a friend. I want to be all these people's
She's
friends.
so glamorous.
I need to meet them. Yeah. But they've just got great energy, and I just relate to everything that they're saying, and I love it. And
they're very real,
inspiring.
Aren't they? Yeah. And really, I mean, I find Brené Brown a fantastic storyteller.
Oh, God,
and the way she will, at one moment she'll say something, oh my God, she's just so amazing at her job. And the next minute she'll go, but I'm useless, I never do it. And the vulnerability she has, or the honesty she has.
Yes.
And it's like, it's not even two faces, but it's just so beautiful to hear her going, oh, but I fuck up all the time. Oh, great. You're human.
I love a good swear word. That's why I love both of them. That's why I love you.
I've been really good in this interview.
No, so have I. Honestly.
Could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
I'm quite sensitive to it.
Yeah. But no, so those would be two of them. I'd say that, I'd say they've been pretty there. They've been there with me for a while. They've been there for me.
If any, they knew. They probably do know.
Tell you what, as well, the other really, like, cringy thing is my little one. Like, I actually believe that she's been hugely influential, because I just want her to believe that, I don't want her ever to become a perfectionist, because I think that has hampered me for many a year. But also just make things happen and do it with your best ability and best heart and best intention. And, you know, those 4 commitments, love those. You know, those are great. You know, just seek to understand and try your best in any situation.
But don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Yeah.
Great lessons.
Yeah.
Love those two. That's another T-shirt.
Yeah. I'm sure someone's doing this.
I could never write a book, because nothing I have to say is original.
You'd get sued, wouldn't you?
I'm just pulling together everyone else's work.
I'm sure they are too. Read any law of attraction book, they kind of all say the same thing.
But you're right. I remember you did say a minute ago about the mindset business and being positive, and that breeds positivity. And, you know, in a client in health, you know, there's been masses shown that you can influence your strength with what you say in your mind. Like we've got a classic, you know, with your press against me saying I'm strong, and you can't push down, and then you say I'm weak, and so it's that self-talk, and
so damaging, isn't it?
That book that's on my desk, I haven't read it yet, but one of my beautiful friends recommended it to me. It's about The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women. And I've not read it yet, but it's all about, you know, the negative self-talk that we have and the...
I think especially as women.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I think it's extraordinary how we have adopted that over the years, over men who I want to say an arrogance or just maybe a belief that they are going to succeed.
Yeah.
Because that's their role or because they're men. And then we have at times quite the opposite.
Yeah.
And we seem to make the hill so much steeper for ourselves, don't we?
And there's a lot of, I think, social conditioning, generational stuff, you know, all that sort of thing. And I can't stress highly enough about working on yourself as an individual to make you good at what you do. And I think that is key to me. And the more I've done that and the more I've understood myself, the more I've understood certain things that I need to learn better.
So that kind of leads you on to my next question of when you are, I was going to say overwhelmed or stressed, or even when you're not, how do you choose to switch off? What are your de-stressors?
Oh, I love a bit of shitty telly.
The last thing I expected you to say.
I know.
I thought you say good massage.
Mindless telly. Do you know, that's really funny. You know, and I'm sure in your role as well, you know, when you've been talking all day with and holding space in that way, sometimes one of the things that is really helpful, because it's hard to switch off initially because you continue with that, is to utterly zone out with some naff telly. I love it.
I do, yeah. I do aspire to that. It's not I disagree.
No.
I'm just not sure I'd admit it.
No, I know. See, I'm happy in my own skin. I'm so happy.
It's just good cave time. I can't think. I just want something that's
mindless.
And my husband will watch like documentaries, but that involves my brain. I can't think. Just give me something I just can get absorbed in, that I just can get carried on the storyline, and I'm perfectly happy.
Cuckoo. It's a good one on Netflix. Hilarious.
Oh no, I've not seen that.
Really
write
good.
that down.
Greg Davis. It makes me laugh a lot.
I've just started watching The Split.
Oh,
I've literally just watched one. Okay. I've got friends who've watched how many series there are, but the first one was brilliant. Okay. So yeah, I recommend that.
You know, so that would be one of the things I do, but I might add I don't do that all the time. But no, I don't, honest. But I think, you know, one of my biggest issues for years, I think ever since I was little, was managing my own energy. And I've continually go, and then get ill. And it's like, you know, like roller coaster energy levels. Yeah, probably because you're just trying all the time, and you're never going to get there because it's unattainable what you're striving for. And so continual wake up calls, continual health issues, and then it's like, okay, what am I not listening to here? What's the universe trying to keep telling me? And so in the last 2 years again, it comes back down to that cycle that we've talked about. I have made it an absolute priority to look after myself. So I've started, you know, I'm exercising regularly now, you know, get those massages, get the work done on my body that I need, that's beneficial to me. It's taking space for reading, getting earlier to bed, all sorts of things, less screen time later on, you know, and I know those things are hard sometimes. Meditation is so important for me, and it's not something I do every day. And if there's one thing that I want to get to, it would be bringing that into my daily practice. Because I say it at work sometimes to people, that my day goes totally differently if I've done even 5 minutes before I see my first client. It's a totally different day. And that, I just think, isn't that wonderful? 5 minutes.
I know. No, I agree. No, it has profound effect on me. Yeah. And have you moved beyond feeling guilty for doing those things and giving yourself time?
Oh yeah, because I'm such a better person for it. No, I don't mean that in a bad way, but
you function better.
I'm
you can
so
give
much more grounded. So much, and I can give more.
It's funny how it takes us so long to get to that point to realise that, which I can't. I've got to give. Maybe it is the mother in us or just the woman in us that you keep giving, and then realise you're just depleted and there's nothing left to give.
In the tank.
You can't give from an empty cup.
No, absolutely.
I've borrowed that one as well.
I love it.
You not heard that one?
I love it. No, I have heard that one. Yeah. Love it. But it's so true. It's so true. And the more I've learned about caring for myself, it's easier to help other people. And I would say that I meet very, very few, such a small percentage that aren't in that same boat. And it's nice to be able to have those conversations about my challenges with them.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Horrible interview question.
No, that's a good one, because that is something that I have thought of quite a lot recently, and about what I'm trying to do. And I think my ideal, and balance is a really hard word as well. So that's one
huge in what I do, but yes.
Yes. So life balance in that sense. I don't know whether I feel that that's achievable when you're running a business, and I want to believe it is, but I also believe that there will be some times where things require a lot of your attention and other things drop, and then equally you can switch it to the other way, so that it's not a roller coaster. I don't want roller coasters.
A gentle seesaw.
It's more a gentle seesaw of that as I move forwards. And I'm learning much more now about being less emotionally connected to things at work, which has been a huge thing. And so with my learnings of that, it's become a lot easier to think about what I want to achieve in the future moving forwards, because it feels more separate from me, and therefore
You've been able to get the objectivity.
Yes. So yes, I do. There's a lot of things that I want to achieve from a work perspective, but I think probably the best things that I would want to talk about with you is how I would want my life, how my life is going to be in 5 years' time, which is still working, but in a much more defined way, with off time. There will be a lot more boundaries with that, and actually, I think, I believe where I'm going now is I want to support others in the team and share the skills that I've got with them more,
so the machine runs on its own without you.
And I still want to be involved in it, but I want to be able to bring more things to a bigger audience and actually invest and empower the people who are working in the business with me to not do the things as I do, but the things that I know are helpful in these scenarios, and to help them with those sorts of skills as well, because I don't have all the answers, but there are some that I have learned now.
You need to read more books.
Yeah, I need to read more books.
More quotes.
Yeah. And actually that thing is really important, like learning, one of my the first another of my one things over these last 2 years is to understand how to recruit the right people to your business. Now that was huge for me, and setting up a system and then letting that system play out, instead of letting the emotion or the situational moments that occur run your choices and decision making.
Removing yourself enough, but knowing that there is a system in place to take over from the emotion.
Yes.
But if you remove yourself and there's no system, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. And so you might have an emotional response, but if you do things as your system dictates, then
takes the ego out of it.
It does, and it makes you make a better decision, because you're making it based on what's the right decisions for the business, not maybe what might be the best short-term decision. And so, goals for the business is to be able to not have to be relied on clinically all the time, to be able to support people better, to be able to run this full service with other professionals involved in it, for sure, and other hats in that sense. But also being able to reach a bigger audience locally, but also further afield, is really key to me as well.
And do you have a plan of how you're going to do that?
Well, weirdly, I think what's happened in this recent times has become an unexpected springboard to that. So actually,
so it's pushing a lot of people to think online and distance,
and I think that it comes back to where we started. Is it's being brave and putting your head above the parapet and going, this is me, this is what I believe in, this is what we believe in as a business, this is what we can, these are the people that, this is the people that we can help with to get this outcome. If you're one of them, we'd love to speak to you, and be okay with being out there, being the face of it, actually putting a video out there, being happy to talk. You know, in a few weeks, I'm going to be running classes that maybe people could be looking at from anywhere in the country, and that is a bit sweat-inducing. But it's something I should be doing, you know? It's, why not? And being okay with that, that feels
it gets
really
easier.
brave. But that's how, again, we're going to be able to start reaching this bigger audience, and I think that will be quite big. Yeah.
So I've got 2 more questions before we wrap up.
Yeah.
So you've got your gorgeous 5-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
How has that shaped you into a better, one presumes, a better businesswoman? How has that shaped you and how you make your decisions?
So, stop being a perfectionist. I think I've already said that. And the second one is about quality time, because I think as everyone talks a lot about the guilt of being a mum, and if I'm really honest, I've not had that. I rarely have that, and I don't mean that in a big-headed way. What my reality of becoming a mum meant that I had fewer options available to me for doing things, and that I needed to work. So actually, this is how our life is, and I felt that there was no point in feeling guilty about that, because that's how it is, and doing the best you can.
Do you also identify a bit? And I remember when I started, and I was kind of, my hand was forced because of our circumstances.
Yeah.
There was a moment when, or quite a few moments, when I would feel guilty for working, that I wasn't looking after my children. And I'd resent work. And then there were times when I'd resented my kids for stopping me working.
Yes.
But then I also learned further down the line, nearer now, that actually I'm a better person for working.
Yes.
Because I'm ticking more of my boxes.
Yes. And I think, you know, would I have loved to have been a stay-at-home mum? Maybe for a few weeks or months. And of course, I'm not a fan of looking at what ifs, because that didn't happen. This has happened. And actually, I think that what we have done in the last year since she's been here is pretty awesome. Fact that we've done all these things, even though she's so little, it's great. And opportunities that we've had, and yes, there is, I do exactly like you say, there's is it sadness? I don't want to label it as guilt. I'm trying really hard not to label it as guilt, but there's a feeling of comparison. Like, I try desperately not to compare myself to others, because everyone's situations are different, and everyone's needs are different, and everyone's beliefs about what they need are different.
Yeah.
So I would very much like to try to make the time that I'm doing what I'm doing as present as I can, so that I and then when I'm not doing those things, I'm there with her. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And I think we have to remember, to a degree, that I think we give our children gifts in different ways.
Yeah.
I think you have the gift of being present. If you're a stay-at-home mum, and you know, I've been both, that you have the gift of doing that. But I think for me, and with hindsight, I think there was a touch of dissatisfaction, because my skill set, which I now realise I have, wasn't being used, and my creativity. And I think actually my older 3 kids have all done business, and they've all done amazingly. They've all got like A's or A stars. And it's because through what we talk about all the time. So it's kind of not necessarily in their DNA, but it's in the conversation.
Yeah.
So, and I think if you can be an inspiration for your children and you work hard and you have your right values and success is measured in different ways, and I think that's a gift for them.
Yeah.
I think there's a beauty in both.
Yeah. And it's lovely to see, it's lovely to see her being proud of me, actually. That sounds, it is. And like equally, I've just remembered that one of my biggest turning points 2 years ago was when she said, "I don't want you working anymore, Mummy, because working makes you grumpy." And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't have her growing up thinking that working makes you grumpy, because I actually do enjoy it. It's just that the worries make me, you know. And then it was like, crikey,
no pressure.
I know, I have to give her a better message than this. This is not good.
In all fairness, that was her interpretation. You could have crashed your car and been grumpy.
Yeah.
Or you could have stubbed your toe and been grumpy.
No, I think work was making me grumpy. I think she was pretty accurate, actually. God darn,
she's your mirror.
Age 3. I know. So yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Okay, so to end on, and it's kind of one of those interview questions, I'm sorry, if you could give a single piece of advice to someone of either juggling work and motherhood, or running a business, or just working in general, what do you think it would be?
Oh. Well, it's not going to be my advice, obviously. It's going to be someone else.
Tap into it. Tap into Brené.
Oh, goodness, that's really
What's the main T-shirt in your drawer? What's the one you pull out?
Oh. I want to say something about learning, actually. Learning and growing. And I think that that is twofold. That's learning and growing as a person to enable you to learn and grow in those other things that you're doing. And often the things that you don't want to learn are exactly the bloody things you need to.
Yeah, the ones you want to avoid.
Which is so annoying. But so right. I know. So I think that, because then that allows you to have different perspectives, different opportunities, and then different outcomes, doesn't it? You know, and that's what I tell my clients. I'm helping you learn to move in different ways so that you get a different outcome with your body. Oh, look, I've just realised.
There we go, that's yours.
So it is
Put it on a T-shirt.
Learn and grow. Learn and grow. So smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Oh, I'm a penguin from Madagascar. Oh, no.
Okay, on that note, Vic Rendle.
Has it gone 9 o'clock? Oh, no. Oh, it has. That's why my last half hour was such waffle. I'm so sorry.
You've been amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mary Lou.
Thank you so much for listening to the Hera Hotspot podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to Vic Rendle. Maybe you would like to check out our Facebook page under Hera Holistic. Next time, I'll be talking to Emma Lane Harvey, who offers Reiki healing and works with crystals and meditation. I've known Emma for many years, and I'm so looking forward to exploring her journey and therapies with her. Until then, take care.